Chris Yannick, CYInterview covering Las Vegas and the world. If you haven't already, please hit the like button below and please hit the subscribe button below to keep up with everything we have going on here at CYInterview in Las Vegas and beyond. We greatly appreciate it. Today we're going to revisit our 2011 CYInterview with singer Josh Stone, who had a lot of interesting things to say about her album at the time, Madonna, Lady Gaga, etc. Here is that CYInterview with Josh Stone.
This is Chris Yandak, and you're on CYInterview.com. Josh Stone arguably has one of the greatest voices in the world. With the release of her new album LP1 through her new entertainment company, we welcome in the soul singer for a discussion about many things around her life and music. Featured columnist Jay Bildstein is on this call with me. Ms. Stone, thank you so much for joining me today. I want to start out by saying, reading
Thank you very much for having me.
I'm very welcome to have you. It's been a great pleasure and been a long way of experience for sure. This album, the most excitement you've ever had making an album, but with that being said, looking at LP1, how much of this project, was based on your life experiences? Because I really think like there's a lot of raw emotion in this album and your feelings really shine through.
Well, I always try to write about something that's actually happened, and it doesn't always have to have happened to me, but it has to have happened at some point. So every single lyric that you hear comes from some kind of story that I've come across in my life. I like to think that maybe helps me mean it a bit more, and if you don't mean it, then it ceases to be soul music. So it's important that I mean every single word.
First track on the album is Newborn. I felt that kind of represented your independence now, this project, being released through your new label. You're going in a different direction with your career. Am I right on point with that? Newborn, this is a rebirth period for you.
Well, I guess, it is a rebirth song. When I wrote it, it wasn't about my label or anything. It was really more about the state of the world. And there's one little lyric in there, it says, everybody walk hand in hand, get hold of your land and push it together, because I'd like to see the world become one, as everybody would, and all this whole peace and love kind of thing that some would say is just hippie silliness, but it would still be nice. We can still write songs about it, hoping. So that's what I was doing. I was writing a song about the hope that one day everybody will be at peace with each other. But that song was written separately from the making of this album.
Referring to the first track, then, what you're really saying is we should just all be people. Newborn.
Yeah, totally. It would just be nice if everybody would be nice. That's what I'm saying.
Why are so many artists like yourself now, after being in the label industry for a period of time, going off and starting their own entertainment companies and then releasing their own music? It seems to be a new common trend.
It does, doesn't it? I think it's because we can. We can. It's simple, really. If you have, good people around you and someone that knows how to do it, instead of having a manager, just have somebody run a label for you. It's kind of like there's this whole beauty that's happening right now. The big record labels had so much control. I think too much control, that it actually made their artists scared to not do what they were told. And then the music suffers because of that dynamic. And now there's the power of the download. People will download the music for free, and they'll pay for it if they want to give you a compliment. They don't have to pay for it. And the only way that artists could make money was by touring, and because the record labels didn't take that money. Unfortunately now, because the record labels aren't making money from the downloads, now they want to take money from everything. So it kind of all comes to this halt, and everyone starts fighting and all this stuff. And I thought, you know what, wouldn't it be nice if I could just have my own label and then nobody fights and everybody just is nice to each other, and instead of having all these people around me to fight my record label, because that's all the team does. A team that's with the artist, as you guys probably know, because you're right next to that, you're probably in that all the time. If a manager is there every day, you know that their job is pretty much every waking hour having arguments with the record label. It's like this big war.
Yeah.
So I just thought, well, let's not have a war with another label, because now I finally got free. I thought, I'm not going to go and have a war with another one. I might as well just make my own, and then there's no wars.
What should we know about you that we don't?
Oh, well, nothing. Because I think if people know more about me than they should anyway. You know? It's like I sing songs, and I hope people like them. And I play gigs, and I hope people like it.
You know what, Josh? I would ask you this, though, following on that theme. Do you feel comfortable with perhaps the mantle of currently being considered as perhaps the greatest female vocalist in the world today? Is that a mantle that you're comfortable with?
That would be nice. I don't think that's true, though, hon. That would be awesome.
I think it's true. I mean, when you belt out a song.
Looking at one of your other songs on the album, "Cry Myself to Sleep," it represents letting go of someone, letting go of anything in general. Was there any personal experience you were referring to in that when you sung that song?
I guess so. I mean, I think there's a lot of different experiences that can equate to a song like that. It can be with a guy. And, we all had past relationships, whether they're important or not. There's still songs in them. Or it could be a friend, or whatever it is. I like that, the hook to that song, because it's like, it is exactly what I do. It's very honest. I was just writing down the words that was happening in my head. The fact is, when I get pissed off about something and something awful has happened, I just say, you know what, thank you very much. Thank you for the lyrics, because that is exactly what you just gave me. And there's no real negative then. So if something happens, I don't cry about it. I just buy myself a pen, and I figure it out.
Well, turning a negative into a positive.
Yeah, you have to do that. There is a silver lining to every cloud. And there's some awesome songs that have come from some really, bad experiences. But they're great experiences, because then I've got some good songs, so it's all good for me.
I think in this era of music today, we have just so much shock value and attention grabbing, and you just get out there and you sing and you bring it. Why do you think that's a rarity today?
I don't know. I think that people are having to do, really crazy things to shock people now and to get people's attention. And it kind of, it's this way in lots of different aspects of life, that people fight for attention. It's competitive. So they need to be the one that stands out. But sometimes I think, sometimes I'll see a really great singer, and I know I sound like an old lady when I say these things, and maybe they'll be I don't know, dressed up in some crazy outfit with a piece of meat on her head or whatever, like a Lady Gaga thing. And I think that I know the shock value is good, and it gets people to watch you. But actually, she can sing songs, and she can play piano. And it just feels like it might overshadow what talent she does have. And obviously, it doesn't really matter, because that's a totally different style of music and doesn't bear any relevance to soul or whatever. But it does happen in lots of different areas. And Madonna's not the best singer in the world, but she was awesome with her entertainment and all of her shock tactics and stuff, and that's where it began. She then inspired all sorts of other girls to do that. But I don't know. I just think music's kind of important too. So you've got to know where that line is, especially when you are, you are good at singing. So I don't know. I would never want something I'm wearing or the way I'm dancing or something to overshadow what I'm doing. I'd rather grab people's attention with my voice.
I think that's what the problem is, and that's my biggest issue with Gaga, is that there is real talent underneath all of those gimmicks, and she could just be a normal singer, and she could make it happen, and she doesn't need all that.
People would love her still,
It's just...
She really,
Go ahead.
She can sing.
Yeah.
But then people forget that she can sing because she's doing all this crazy stuff. But I don't know. I guess it's a great show. I've never been, but I'm sure it's awesome.
It's a really tough time for people to hold on to their dreams and independent beliefs of the challenges the world is currently facing. As somebody who has achieved what you had, held on to your beliefs, and always have spoken your mind, what is your advice to people who feel like these times are just so challenging and dreams seem even farther than they were during good times?
I think, like I say, that there's always a silver lining to every cloud, and everything has to happen for a reason. And if everything's really challenging, then you can make it into a positive. It's very, very possible to do so. It just takes a little bit of thought and a little bit of hard work. It really depends what kind of issue you're facing there, because I'm being quite general now in answering this question, but can't really be general because there's lots of issues in the world right now. And they're all different, but they all equate to one big, massive tear. So it doesn't need to be that way. You know, we can turn it around to find a silver lining and stick with that.
Yeah, I think that you make a very valid point there. You know, looking ahead to something that was just so unbelievably insane and crazy at the same time, referring to, you know, the possibility that some two people were trying to kidnap you and possibly kill you recently.
Oh, yeah.
I wonder what can you take away and what can you learn from that? How can you turn that into a silver lining and a positive? I mean, that's ridiculous. You can't live in fear, of course, you know.
It is ridiculous, but you've got to see the humor in it. I know it's hard, but it's actually not that hard. Look at this. Picture this. There's two guys come down from Manchester. They spent all this money in coming down here, which is really stupid, to rob my safe that I do not have. And they got lost. How can you get lost? Seriously. If I was trying to kill somebody, I think I'd think it through a little bit better than that. I don't know. I just think it's quite funny. I know my mum doesn't think it's funny. I think she thinks it's really bad. But
it makes your life more interesting, is what you said.
Yeah. It's like, you know, the tapestry of life. What can you do? Hey, they just added a really big, bright color because it is hilarious. These guys tried to do me with a samurai sword. I mean, what are we? Are we in Kill Bill here? This is not the movies. They watch too many movies. So, what can you do? They didn't do it. I mean, if they had turned up at my house and, like, threatened me with a sword and all this, then I would be beside myself probably, and I probably would have had a heart attack, and they wouldn't have even had to kill me. But they didn't. Nothing happened. They got lost. So there you go.
But you're not living in fear, and you're not moving.
No, I'm not moving. I love my home. Yeah, no way. No way, Jose. They come round here and they'll have a fight on their hands.
No way, Jose,
but, yeah,
indeed.
What can you do?
Absolutely. Is there any one moment that stands out from your career? I know there's a lot.
There's so many fun things. Sometimes it's hard to, like, even remember them all, but I think for me, like, there's a couple good ones. Like, I remember watching Gladys Knight when I was about 16, and I can honestly say that she totally changed the way that I perform. Like, just by watching her. I don't know, I feel like I'm a quick learner, and I'm also very quick to forget. So that's why I can't play an instrument, because I can't bloody remember it. But, yeah, I just watched her and learned from that. I was like, wow, my God. And then the next day I did a performance, and my mum was like, what the hell? What happened to you? I said, oh, well, I just watched Roberta. I watched Gladys do it last night. She really did change a lot. I don't think she realizes, because I didn't really tell her, but...
You know, you've got a long career ahead of you, of course, absolutely, and I just wonder what you hope you're contributing to the world.
Well, I hope that I contribute some kind of smiles, you know. It doesn't always have to be smiles. Sometimes it just has to be emotional. I really love art, and I always have, in every single different form. And I just hope that I'm able to give some art that will touch some people and help them to be more positive and stronger. So I like to make sure I don't sing songs that are like self-hating and feeling sorry for yourself, because that's not the kind of legacy I want to leave, really. I want people to feel like strength, especially young women. You know, it's nice to know that you're worth something, and music really does put that kind of light back into you. Well, it does for me anyway. You know, I've been through some very interesting times in my life, and there's certain songs I go to, and I'm like, okay, it's not that bad. So I hope that I can do that for people. You know, that would be nice. I mean, if I could be a doctor and save lives, I would, but I can't, so I do this.
Well, you know what? I think it was that I saw you performing with Melissa Etheridge, Josh, and I guess it was at the Grammys when you did Janis Joplin's Cry Baby. And I know you, I think Jimmy Page was actually in the front row. I saw you do a tribute to Dusty Springfield when you sang Son of a Preacher Man. You sung in front of Aretha Franklin to honor her, I think, Natural Woman. You worked with James Brown, did A Man's World. What does it feel like when you're working with these greats doing their music?
It's very scary. It's just very scary, especially that Aretha Franklin one. I literally walked up the stage, I burst into tears. I've never been so afraid in my life to get something wrong, you know. I always say, like, you have to let go of the outcome when you're doing these things and just go for it and not think about, like, what's going to happen afterwards, but you can't help it. Sometimes it's just like, oh my God, and that adrenaline, it just makes you do it.
We're pressed for comment now, so let me ask you three that you haven't sung. Randy Crawford's got a great song called Street Life. I don't know if you're familiar with it, with the Crusaders. Any chance you'd ever cover that? Any chance you'd do any Shirley Bassey? And any chance you'd do any Nina Simone? Because those are three that come to mind that I haven't seen you work.
Oh, okay. Well, I actually haven't really thought about those things. Nina Simone I have. But, yeah, I love to sing all sorts of type of music. That's kind of my mission going forward, really. I guess you could say my life's been kind of real polymorphic in a way. I keep changing and going through different things and writing with different writers and stuff, and I'm hoping that I can try lots of different styles. Because now I don't have a label, so I don't have to do what I'm told, which is quite nice. So I can go off and I can sing, cover whatever I want, try lots of different genres with lots of different artists. So yeah, maybe I will cover some Shirley Bassey.
Josh, it's great talking with you, and hope to bring it back in the near future. And I'll send this along to your team so you can get this great interview up on Twitter. I think all your fans would love to see it.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much,
I'm glad it worked out.
Yeah.
All right,
Take
cheers.
care.
Bye-bye.
For CYInterview.com, I'm Chris Yandek.